to Vital Moments. My name is Ron. I'm the lead pastor of Vitalpoint Church, and this is David. He is our site pastor in Exeter, and this past weekend, he actually brought the message, and it's a brand new series, a two-part series called Game Changers.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dave?
Doing good. My Oilers won last night, so.
Oh, did Montreal win last night?
No, they got absolutely spanked.
What? I was watching it. It was 2-2.
Yeah, they got spanked,
No.
but no one cares about Montreal.
I know, but
just people that need prayer.
It's just Canadian teams. That's what's exciting. Is we got 5 Canadian teams in the playoffs?
You're showing your age, where it's just like you're a fan of one team, but you're like, I just root for all Canadian teams. Yeah. It's like, no, they're not your team.
So you want to know something funny? A friend of mine is flying to England yesterday from Newfoundland, and he got stuck in Toronto, and
you had to go backwards to go to England.
Yeah, so he flew from Newfoundland to Toronto, and then he is stuck in Toronto for the day. So he decides, I think he's going to try to go golfing, like rent golf clubs and go golfing. I'm like, dude, I would not go solo. He says, no, I'm going to be paired up with someone. I said, oh, good. So did you bring your stack of tracks that you can hand out to the guy? He texts me back, what are tracks? And I'm like,
didn't know what tracks were.
Yeah, and he's 29. I'm like, dude, you missed out on the 70s when it was rocking and rolling, these little pamphlets.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a funny moment because I realized
I wonder how many people are going to heaven because of those tracks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the Lord can use unexpected
Yes, that's
moments.
True. Yeah. Anyway.
Talk about a game changer.
Game changer. We digressed. Anyway, so listen, essentially the series is around Esther.
Mm-hmm.
And what a game changer is. And you had some really great moments in this talk, and I had the privilege of listening to it 3 times in Poplar Hill. We had video teach this weekend, and I joke with you that I slept through the 3rd one, but there are some really great moments. The awesome part about watching it 3 times or experiencing it 3 times is you pick up different things through the course of the message. And producer Josh's wife was Kirsten was in Poplar Hill this weekend, so she heard it 3 times as well. Yeah, kind of sketch out for us game changer. What is a game changer? Mm-hmm. Why we focus on Esther? Help our connect groups and those who are listening understand what this is.
Well, the big thing is, like, there's a reality that we kind of have this battle inside of our mind. Like, can we really make a difference with our lives? We want to say yes, right? We maybe have some things that we have changed events or circumstances in our lives that have impacted people's lives. But like sometimes deep down, we just wrestle a lot with like, no, maybe we can't change the game, or we don't have enough influence. And what ends up happening is we wrestle too hard or too much with it, and we don't see ourselves the way God sees us. And the story of Esther is this powerful story of this little Jewish girl that is taken from her family, her only family, Uncle Mordecai, and is placed inside the palace of the king's kingdom. And through her faithfulness and her obedience and her wisdom that the Lord gives her, she wins favor. And then the next thing you know, like, she's right where God needs her to be. For a moment that changes Israel's history, like the Jewish people's history, right? They're about to be, in ways, executed or taken off this earth because someone is frustrated with a group of people. And she doesn't just muster up the courage. It's this beautiful moment of her realizing the power of her situation and actually surrendering to what God needs her to do. And we as followers of Jesus, or people who are starting to really take this faith thing seriously, whether you're new right after Easter, we have to see that God has placed us exactly where we need to be. We don't need to be somewhere else. We don't need to do something else, but we can actually see our position of influence actually be infused by God's power to do what he needs to do. And a game changer just has the eyes and the ears of like, okay, God, give me your perspective of what my life really needs to be right now.
I think that was a powerful moment I think it was that challenge where you said,
Mm-hmm.
God, give me your perspective in this. Because there's times when you work 9 to 5, or you're in a 12-hour shift at a factory, or you're sitting in a classroom for endless hours, and it feels a little bit daunting and boring or whatever. And you're like, hey, God, give me your perspective in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's such a key piece of it, right?
Yeah, and I think we're coming out of Easter. We just came out of our spiritual gift series, right? And you could joke around and be like, okay, we're done with talking about spiritual gifts,
Yeah.
right? In ways, but someone that's a follower of Jesus be like, okay, God, if I'm trying to discover my gift, if I'm trying to discover my God-given talent that you've given me, see your perspective. Like, God, give me your perspective of my life so I can start practicing and using my gifts to change people's lives, right? It's a continuation of a conversation of how, God, have you given me influence in my day-to-day life? Whether it's a stay-at-home mom, right? I had a few stay-at-home moms message me being like, man, like, this really helped me see that, like, I'm shaping the next generation. I'm raising up a family of adults. They're going to be adults one day, right? Let's be real. They're not raising children. You're raising adults that hopefully will step into making a difference in this world as well. So yeah,
Talk about you had 4 or 5 things that get in the way.
Yeah, it's
Come out of your own journal, you said.
yeah, they're out of my own journal, and it's interesting. I wrestled with, like, how much do I share of my story in this? And I noticed that when I was looking through my journal, like, yeah, I say it with my mouth, like, God, like, I know I have influence. I know I have your spirit. I know I have your direction.
Right.
But the things that I saw in my journal were these 5 thoughts was, I compare myself to others. And when I compare myself to others, I actually rob myself of seeing the unique abilities that God has given me.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, because you brought up social media.
Yeah, like, social media is like, we often compare ourselves with people on social media, and you're just looking at their highlight reel. I joked around in Exeter live, like, no one's posting that their kid's puking at 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
Like, no one's doing that. Like,
Yeah,
the
let's do a
reality is,
reel with barfing kids in the middle of the night, you know?
yeah, praise Jesus.
Yeah.
We're barfing all together. It's and we compare ourselves to the highlight reel, right? And then we rob ourselves of, like, actually seeing our own life.
But I think, take it a step farther. The person that posts all the positive things, but yet they know the reality of their lives. And in the gap between the filtered life that they post and the actual life they live, creates a mental strain. It's an unhealthy, mental health. That gap, I think, just continues to fuel the mental health problems that someone might be dealing with or struggling with. And
yeah, absolutely.
I've asked people before, you've heard me say this, right? Man, if your life is anything like your filtered life on Instagram, man, you're living the dream. And the person said to me, actually, that's not my life. My life is falling apart. It's like, oh man.
It's so true though, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is an awkward moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So comparison, what else, the other one?
Yeah. We believe our story is way too messy.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, it's just like my trauma, my failure, the present that I'm living in right now. Like, how would God ever use me, right? And like, if you look at the Bible, it's like 66 letters to the church and to God's people, of, like, he constantly uses people that are a flaming mess. We joke around about that all the time, right? They are a flaming mess. And he still says, like, I want to use you, right? And do they get it right sometimes? Absolutely. But do they get it wrong a lot of the time? Yeah, absolutely. But he still uses them. So don't see that your story is way too messy. God can use you. Another one is, we believe influence is position and power, right? And like, social media has really, really pushed this too. Right? You need a platform. You need to be the boss. You need to be. You have the followers, right? And that one's a tough one for, like, I know for me, myself too, right? Like, I see leaders that are my age and they have a massive platform and they're reaching so many people. And I'm like, man, like, how cool would that be? Right? And we think that influence comes with position of power, but it's actually really like the faithfulness in the small places,
Yeah, that
the
was good.
quiet moments of really knowing who God is,
Yeah, that's good.
and then stepping in, and then um, feeling unnoticed or unseen, like no one's listening to you
Right.
is a big one too. Like you have all these great ideas and you're spewing them out, or maybe you're keeping them to yourself, and you're thinking like no one wants to hear these things, or when you do say them, no one listens. So you just feel like, am I even being noticed? Like, is there even a
Yeah,
point?
you're on a team at work and you're
Yeah,
not the lead, but you've got some creative ideas, but no one's prepared
yeah,
to listen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another one is like sometimes we think that there's always going to be this big moment. Like when I get my big moment or my big break, then I'll be able to change the
Mm,
game. But I think what the Lord is trying to help followers of Jesus understand is it's the small things that I'm placing in
sure.
front of you
Yeah.
that build up and build up
Mhm.
and build up. And then maybe in that building up of those small moments, it's like then it's a big game changing life that you've had, right?
Mhm.
um, like we know people in our lives that have never had a platform, have never had a big showing in front of people, but when you talk with people, it's like you see their name pop up.
Yeah.
And it was a small conversation of, or a consistency of showing up on a team, right? And um, yeah, and then you hear that they've changed the game through
Yeah.
their obedience of
Yeah.
just stepping in. But yeah, these 5 things came from my journal. In all
There-
honesty, it came from the season of when I was laying in bed with a concussion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was a tough season.
David, you identified it at the beginning of the talk. There is an awareness in the life of an individual that they're made for more. Like that closing song, Made for More, on
Yeah.
Sunday was, I don't know how it landed in other locations. In Poplar Hill, it was unbelievable. Like it was just, the room was
Mhm.
alive with this closing
Mhm.
song. So there's this desire in individuals. Let's just focus on followers of Jesus,
Yeah.
that they're in Christ. So there's an element of
Mhm.
the four things that you talked about from First Peter. But yet this desire to know that there's something in us, I think sometimes we get so fixated on making it happen. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Mhm.
almost try to force it.
Yeah.
What I loved
Yeah.
about Esther's life is that she wasn't trying to force her influence.
No.
She will ultimately have to go to the king, yes, but she's just going through her life, her character,
Mhm.
the wisdom, the grace, favor, and then all
Mhm.
of a sudden the moment arises. Do you think too oftentimes we try to force the moments to happen
Absolutely.
and we
Absolutely.
don't just allow them to happen?
Yeah, I think we do the lip service of saying, God, this is your plans, this is your ways,
Sure.
but then we try to force it, right? Like I've talked to my spiritual father, David Campbell, a
Mm.
lot about these things. Like he goes, stop forcing it. If God wants it to
Yeah.
happen, he'll make it happen, right? You're just called to take one step at a time
Yeah.
every single day. The job that you have, you show up prepared, you show up well, and you show up in everything that you're supposed to do, and God will use you. And that's not just for a pastor, that's for the line work at a factory, that's for the stay-at-home mom, that's
Yeah.
for the realtor that's driving around showing
Yeah.
homes,
Yeah.
right? Like it's for everyone.
Yeah.
You show up
Yeah.
and be faithful, because remember, Esther's story is not about royalty and position, it's about readiness and faithfulness.
Readiness and faithfulness. Yeah.
Like,
That was great. That was so good. That
but people
moment.
say like, well, she still got the position and she got the royalty, but the reality is she had no power.
Right.
Like the queens of those days were literally just, sorry to say it, they were a beauty object to show off the king. Like, look
Mhm.
who I can have for
Right.
myself,
Yeah. They're
right?
almost like a prop, you know?
They,
Yeah.
yeah. And what's so unfortunate is that's what it was. But
Yeah.
God doesn't need perfect situations to
Yeah.
do incredible things. Right. So you think about your job, like, yeah, you may not like your 9 to 5 deadbeat job, but God goes, I know the people that you're going to be rubbing shoulders with. Can you please show up prepared
Yeah.
with my eyes and my ears
Yeah.
to see them the way I see them? Because there may be a door that opens where you step in and your faith may be in ways hidden at one
Yeah.
point, but then you have an opportunity to just speak the truth of what God needs you to do in those moments. And you're not forcing it.
So a game changer then is the consistency of faithful obedience in the small things that allow yourself to be a game changer, but then also being okay that it's only in the small things, in the obedience. And if a big moment of opportunity, like Esther's going to, like we're going to look at this coming weekend, arises, then you are prepared. So the preparation for a game-changing moment, like she's going to enter into, happens in the consistency of the small moments. But don't see the small moments as a build to the big moment. You know what I mean? Like so oftentimes we're going to be like, you know, like I'm going to do this so that I can have my big moment. No. Be consistent and faithful. It's kind of like the Oswald Chambers reading this morning was on abandonment, right?
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah. What did he say at the end of it? He said, if you're not living in the life that you believe God has for you, it's either disobedience or you've missed the simple life or something like that.
It was just the reality that you're either going to choose the life
of abandonment,
or you're going to, or you're going to, yeah.
So good. I had to read it like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, oh man, this is hitting way too close to home. Well, I think there's a piece of this, David, that the challenge of this was so amazing. Like I love the fact that, we're out of we're moving on past the gift series. We did Easter Sunday and then this quick 2-part series. I believe you took us to this place of really examining our lives. Like, what are we really living for? We call it a game changer, but the game changer is not the big flashy moments. The game changer is those simple moments, sitting in a lunchroom, sitting beside a friend at school. And I love the fact that you challenge the older community of our church. You know, I don't know what politically correct we're allowed to call seniors these days, but
I always say the people with more life experience.
I know. But you can have an older person that doesn't have a anyway.
Well, no, they've got lots of life experience. You got 60, 70 years under your belt.
I love that you know my heart on this for Vitalpoint. And you know, when you said about being a spiritual parent, I think you said a spiritual father, mother, or grandparent to someone else. Like, you're right. This incredible life experience, especially for those who've been followers of Jesus for a long time, you have so much a game changer is stepping into a young person's life and saying, hey, can I have coffee with you? I'd really like to learn how to use social media, and then allow the natural moments of interaction to happen. Right. That was such a beautiful moment, dude. That was so good.
I said this in Exeter Live, and I think the broader church needs to hear this as well, is like, there are so many stories of game-changing things happening already. We don't do this series be like, oh, nothing's happening, so we better try to spark something up. This series is to raise levels of hope, life, and faith. And all of our sites have stories of people that are changing the game exactly where they are.
In Poplar Hill, we had Alpha Day this past weekend, and there's a young 20-something in Poplar Hill. She brought her friend who's completely unchurched to Alpha a few weeks ago, came to Alpha Day. This person gave their life to Christ on Saturday at Alpha Day. And you talk about game changer, simple invitation to come to Alpha. That's a game-changing invite. Because it changed the life of this other young woman who's now a follower of Jesus. And we talk about all the time around Vitalpoint. You know, we want to invest and invite. The simple invite of a friend can actually change their life. That's a game changer. You can be a game changer by inviting someone to church. Whew. Man. Esther's story, man, it was great. It was so good, man. You did such a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. And
it was fun.
Mom and I were kind of reflecting on it a little bit, just saying, you know, like, it was for us, it was probably one of the strongest talks. You know, I don't want to say that to you too much because you might not be able to get out of your office. Your head would just start swelling.
Okay.
You have to unsnap the back of that hat, and
Oh my gosh.
your wife will
You're
keep you
wild.
humble. So,
Yeah.
no, it was good. It was a great, you know, message and game changer. And I love the fact we're looking at Esther's life. It's just the coolest, amazing story ever. This weekend's going to
Mhm.
be incredible too. Anything you
Yeah.
want to say? Last minute?
Just again, ask God for his perspective on your life
Whew.
and actually give him time and space to speak.
Yeah.
Like, don't just fill your journal or fill your drive with your voice going to work
Mm.
and saying, God, give me your perspective, and you don't give him a chance to speak to you. Because I believe that the Lord is stirring hearts to say, this is how I see you. This is how I've shaped you. And
Yeah, he has you in that place for a purpose. I think, was that the phrase you used?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the reality is, when we get his perspective, we actually, I believe it's Zephaniah 3, where it says that the Lord sings over
Yes.
us, right? And something like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And I believe when we see his perspective, we're actually hearing the melody and the
Yeah,
rhythm
that's good.
and the richness of who he is, of how he sees you, and you're actually stepping into the song that he's placed
Whew.
inside.
That's good.
Yeah. Don't sing your own song.
Oh my
Sing your
goodness. Okay, just throw the mic down. Don't sing your own song. Great stuff,
Yeah.
Chris. God has you in your place for a purpose, and that means it brings life to your everyday work environment, places you play, your neighborhood, your community, your small town. Yeah, it's good stuff. It was great. If you're listening to this and you're part of a Connect group, we hope that you will lean in big time on this conversation, and super excited about that. If you're not in a Connect group, would like to be, please reach out to a site pastor. And if you're listening to this, please just, wherever platform you are, make a comment, share, not so that we can gain more followers or anything. We just believe that these things can actually change people's lives, and we're excited about that as a community. So David, way to go.
Don't forget about the gala.
Gala, May 9th.
Nice.
Please sign up for that. May 9th. It's going to be an important conversation across all sites. If you're in one of our locations and you're thinking, why bother going to this? Be there. And I know it's a give above and beyond event. And some people are like, well, I don't have any other money to give other than just tithing. That's fine. Show up, be there, get a ticket, pay the $25 a ticket, get there so you know what's happening. And we're going to be super transparent that night about where we're headed and what we believe God's doing. So cool stuff. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Peace out.
Peace.
Vital Moments.